You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou, and today on this May 13th of 2022, we are diving right into the Week 5 picks for the USFL. We got 4 games on tap to break down for you guys today, including a very exciting Generals and Breakers matchup that'll be coming up tomorrow. But I'll be going through all 4 games, giving my thoughts on the potential winner, a score, and then just kind of dabbling and giving some of my thoughts on the betting odds and what I would and would not take if I was a gambling man. I am not giving betting advice. I am just giving my thoughts. So we got, like I said, 4 games on the pitch for this weekend, starting off with game number 1 between the Michigan Panthers, who are sitting at 1-3, taking on the Tampa Bay Bandits, who are sitting currently at 2-2. That is tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Now, this is an interesting matchup because you have a Michigan Panthers team who, with some better coaching decisions and just some better quarterbacking play, could realistically be a 3-1 team. They've had every single one of their losses come down to essentially like the final drive of the game and just not being able to get it done. That missed field goal last week still hurts because I had the Panthers with the win for last week and they just could not get it done, getting the upset over the Stars. This week, the Bandits are favored at -2.5 with an over-under of 33.5. And if you're thinking, oh, that's a pretty low favorite for the Bandits there, you know, this is potentially a game where I could see the Panthers maybe coming out on top, and here's why. While the Panthers continue to struggle with their whole quarterback situation, and hopefully Paxton Lynch gets healthy and, he can build off the promising showing that he had there, this ground game has been one of the best in the league. I mean, it's not even one of the best. It's the best in the league. They are averaging a whopping 190.3 yards a game, which is first, and they're also tied for first in rushing touchdowns with 7 as well. This ground game is a beast of a unit. Everyone seems to be able to move, and even the quarterbacks seem to be able to run the football as well. While Shea Patterson struggles throwing the football, he is pretty versatile with his legs. I'll give him that. And even Paxton Lynch, he was a bulldozer when he was playing that quarterback spot just last week before he went down with his injury. So with that in mind, if you're looking at the Panthers and their route to success today, it is going to be through the ground game. At this point, you need to just kind of go all in with it and figure out ways to win with the run and try to limit Shea Patterson's turnovers if he's going to be QB1 today. I have not heard whether Paxton Lynch is ready to go or not yet. I don't know if that'll change, if we'll find out closer. If Paxton Lynch is playing, I do think that sways the game a little bit. But as of right now, Bandits at -2.5, it does make sense to me because I think there is a potential route for the Panthers to win, but it's going to be through the ground in limiting Patterson's potential turnovers that, he seems to rack up week over week. Whereas when you look at the Bandits, they have been a mixed bag of winners and losers going back and forth each week. They are 8th in offensive yards a game, and they are 7th in both the passing and rushing categories, which is interestingly enough because somehow that totals out to being 8th in the league, even though they're 7th in both, but it has to do with just the way the numbers are. But ultimately, they're not great at moving the football on offense. They don't accumulate a ton of yards. I know that they do get to take advantage of some shorter fields when it comes to scoring sometimes when they've won a couple of their games, but overall, the offense just does not really move well. And the Panthers, for all the struggles they have, are first in points per game allowed, and they are also second in yards per game allowed defensively. This is going to be a tough one on the offense for the Bandits. Now, do I think that the Bandits defense could really overtake this Panthers offense? That's probably where the route for a win comes for the Bandits. And when you look at my score line here, like I said, the over-under sitting at 33.5. I have the Bandits, sitting at 20-10 as victors. So they do get the win, but I do think this game goes to the under. I do think it's going to be a little bit more of a defensive standoff. Like I said, the Bandits offense has just been a roller coaster to watch. Jordan Teamu looks really good some weeks and not so hot other weeks. You can't trust the quarterbacks over there in Michigan. I expect this game to be run more so through the ground for the Panthers, and the Bandits just need to play good, sound football, because I do think that they are the better team, especially when it comes to the quarterback spot. For all the struggles Jordan Teamu has, he has not been what Shea Patterson has been. And again, I do like the Bandits 20-10, but I think the under is probably a likelihood for this game. That's kind of how I look at that one, sitting at only 30 points between the two for my final score there. of that 20-10. But I do like the Bandits, and I think they do come out the W. Going into the second game of the weekend. This one kicks off on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It is my game of the week. I am looking at the Breakers taking on the Generals, and I am very excited for this matchup. Two teams that are 3-1, battling it out, and Kyle Sloter, he looked a little bit better last week than he did the week prior, dealing with his injury, so I hope after another week of being able to rehab his groin injury, he just looks even better, and maybe he's a little bit more mobile. That is going to be the hope for the Breakers, and I mean, this is a Breakers team that has defensively just been outstanding. They are first in turnovers with 11. They are tied for first in the league with 11 sacks as well with the Stallions. Devin Bellamy should be back in the lineup, and I think that's going to be a huge revitalization for this Breakers defense, and it should help them out because they have been low on the sack total the last couple of weeks. They notched up 10 sacks the first 2 weeks, and they've only had 1 the last couple of weeks. So right now, their only hope for success is for someone like Devin Bellamy to come back in, and then hopefully from there be able to, find a spark, get the defense rolling, get that pressure rolling, and become a more aggressive unit with him back in the lineup. And again, Sloter just needs to hold back his mistakes. Hopefully he's playing well, and hopefully that groin injury is starting to feel a little bit better here. And I think if they establish the run game, this is a really good opportunity for the Breakers to really solidify themselves as the top of two teams in the league here. For the Generals, they come in rolling with that dual QB system, and I've already said this a handful of times. I'm not really a big fan of it. However, they're 3-1. They're getting the job done. They are finding success there, but I will say that I do think DeAndre Johnson is probably the QB1 they should be running with. I really, really like what he can bring to the table, both athletically as a mobile quarterback and also as a passer as well. He was 9 for 10 last week in the limited opportunities he had throwing the football. He did account for the lone passing touchdown as well for the team. But I mean, if you can see what they do defensively, if they can muster up the pressure, they are 7th in sacks with only 5 so far this season. If they can just find some pressure and get to the quarterback, and again, Kyle Sloter, he's not going to be as mobile this week as he normally is. If they can get after him and you can look for this ground game that the Generals seem to dominate with, they are averaging 178.3 yards a game, which is second in the league, which is led by DeAndre Johnson, like I mentioned, and the running backs Darius Victor and Trey Williams. This will challenge the Breakers' run defense. They are the second best in the league. The Breakers are only allowing 88 yards a game on the ground. This will be a fun matchup to watch, and it's a tough one to call. The Breakers are -3 favorites, and the over-under sitting at 36.5 for this game, and I'll tell you right now, I do have to say that I think it's going to be a tight one. I do like the over in this one for sure, because I think that both of these teams have the opportunity to put up some good points. Yes, they're going up against each other who do have better defenses, but I do really like what these offenses can do when they get rolling. I have the Breakers winning this game here, and I have them winning at a scoreline of 28-27, picking up a big victory in a tight contest. -3, that's not a bet I would take if I was betting on a game this weekend. I really think this game comes down to the wire. I don't expect it to be a blowout on either side. So even if the Generals end up winning, I feel like it's a game that comes within 3 as well. A lot of games this year have come down to one possession, and a handful of them have come down to like that field goal at the end, a la the Panthers just last week, losing their game to the Stars. I like the Breakers, 28-27. Hammer the over for this one. Should be an interesting matchup to watch. Now, going into the next game on our schedule here, we have ourselves the Birmingham Stallions taking on the Philadelphia Stars. The Stallions are sitting at 4-0, while the Philadelphia Stars are sitting at 2-2, coming off of a massive upset victory and on a really tight game where they came away with a really lucky field goal miss. But man, have the Stallions looked good. They are coming into this one as -6 favorites. The over-under is sitting at 36.5, so people expect this one to get into a little bit more of a scoring contest, and I do actually think so as well. These are two teams that have a good opportunity to put up some points going into this game here. But the Stallions, man, I want to talk about just how battle-tested this team has been this year and how impressive they have been to me. The fact that they came into last week, Jamar Smith was out because of the illness. Even though he wasn't out, he was there, but they went with Magoo because he was not able to practice all week, and they were missing a handful of other players as well. The fact that they were still able to come in and get the job done against a Tampa Bay Bandits team that I picked the Bandits to win, not because I think the Bandits were the better team, but just because I was concerned. I was not sure if, missing, their linebackers Burns and Gates, and if Jamar Smith wasn't starting, if the Stallions team could actually come out and win the game. But I mean, they just have the depth and a excellent unit, and the addition of Bo Scarborough now, the running back who is coming in now. This Stallions team, just every single week, either is proving why they are the number one team in the league through adversity and just through grit and toughness and winning tight games, whether it's coming from behind or, holding off a team when you probably shouldn't be winning the game because you have so many people out. The Stallions are just so good, and you have someone like wide receiver Victor Bolden Jr., who is just a machine. He's averaging 177 yards a game, which is first in the league. He has accounted for 4 touchdowns for this offense as well. With Jamar Smith back in the lineup, I mean, if he keeps his accuracy in check, which has been his only real issue so far this year, this Stallions team is going to continue to roll, and they have really good odds going into this game, if you'd ask me. When you look at the Stars, like I said, they came away with a really lucky victory last week. I cannot believe that the Panthers did not end up winning that game, because if you watch the way that game ended, it was heartbreaking for me. I had the Panthers winning there. I ended up going 2-2 in my predictions last week. If you look up top there, it says I am currently sitting at 7-9. We were sitting at 5-7 the week prior. So flat out 500 for the picks last week. I'm hoping for a positive week here. If we can go 3-1, that would be awesome. I would love to sit at 10-10 going into the next week. But the Stars, man, lucky win last week. They did a good job. Case Cookus, man, coming in for Brian Scott, who is now gone because of his injury. 22 of 30, 190 yards. He had a couple of touchdowns and an interception as well. Solid first start for week 4 for him. Now, do I think the Stars can get this game done and win? I don't quite know. Like I said, I just praise the Stallions a lot, and they have done so much to prove everyone wrong in being 4-0. And I understand they're playing at home every single week, whether they're the away team or not. But regardless of that, the team is just that they're fielding over there is just so good, and the addition of Bo Scarborough should only add to what they've got going on there. I'm also concerned about the defense a little bit with the Stars. They went up against the Panthers last week, and they allowed 25 points and 250 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. And that Panthers offense has been fairly lethargic all season long. I mean, they don't really do too much. The running game has been really good, don't get me wrong, but to allow the Panthers to score their highest total on you when they can't really do anything when it comes to the passing game, and they're very one-dimensional. You kind of knew what they were doing, and it's not like Shea Patterson was lighting you up all game long. He did have some good runs here and there, but you were getting dominated on the ground just straight up, and you knew it was coming because they can't throw the football effectively. This defense is going to have to show up, and if it's the defense that we saw last week, I don't really know if the Stars stand a chance in this one. I do have the Stallions coming out winners, and they're -6 favorites for a reason. I really think that they have a good shot of really winning this one. I have the Stallions sitting 23-17 as victors. I do take the over here. The over-under's at 36.5. My score total equals out to 40 points on the dot. I think I do like the Stallions in this one. At -6 favorites as well, I definitely think that's a possibility. It could even be slightly higher than that because we'll have to see how this unit on the Stars side fares against this Stallions defense that has been able to bring the pressure and be very opportunistic. And also, can they keep a potential monster of an offensive unit now that everyone's coming back, and the addition of Bo Scarborough and just how good the ground and passing game has been over there with Birmingham? I don't know. Doesn't look too good for the Stars. I do like the Stallions in this one. I'm taking them as victors, 23-17. And then for the final game of the weekend here, everyone's main event. We're all looking forward to this one. Wink, wink. Pittsburgh Maulers sitting at 0-4 going up against the Houston Gamblers, who are 1-3. I had to look in and do some research about the Gamblers, man, because I was talking to a lot of people in the comments section about this one here, because it just feels like the Gamblers cannot put 4 quarters of football together and they just completely disappear. Well, I pulled the numbers and I figured out what the hell is going on with this team. In the second half of every single game so far this season for the Gamblers, they have a whopping total of only 16 points scored. They have a game where they don't even score in the second half, and they held the lead the entire time. I think there's 2 games that might be like that. I could be wrong. I might be remembering incorrectly. I think it's a game that they didn't score at all, a couple of games where they scored like 3, and then maybe a game where they put up maybe 10. That compares to the 71 points they are able to put up in the first half. I don't know if it's conditioning, if it's the inability to, make changes offensively and adjust to the adjustments that the defense makes for you going into that second half. Whether it's one of those things, that right there is why this Gamblers team is 1-3 and not a 3-1 or potentially even 4-0 team. Because the Gamblers have been really good, especially defensively. They might not have the best numbers statistically. They're like middle of the pack around with when it comes to like yardage allowed and things like that. But the defense has been opportunistic. They have the best turnover margin in the league at +6 with 6 interceptions forced and 5 fumble recoveries. They have 11 total turnovers this year, and they are up right at the top of the leaderboard there. If they could just, and a lot of those turnovers come in the second half too. That's like the crazy thing is you get all these turnovers and you've only pulled together 16 points through 2, 4, 6, 8 quarters of play in the second half up to this point in the year. Come on, you put up 71 in the first half of those 4. You're averaging, what is like the average for that? So 30.5. You're averaging like 15.5 points your first half a game and then just completely fall off a cliff, averaging 4 points a second half. Like, you got to get better than that on offense. You got to make the proper adjustments. If that, and it has to be something like that where the Gamblers are just struggling to just offensively adjust to what's going on with like defenses in the second half. That's the only thing that I can really put together that makes sense to me here. So my hope is that the Gamblers are able to put it together going into this game here. But I don't know. They are going up against the Maulers, and that is probably the best case scenario for them. Gamblers are -5.5 favorites going into this game with an over-under sitting at 33.5. I don't think that this is going to be a very high-scoring affair. When you look at what the Maulers have done so far this season, they've given me some slight hope a couple of times. And going into this season, I was excited about the Maulers. I just because we didn't really know what we were going to get. And I was like, you know what? I took the Maulers week 1 against the Bandits, and they got shellacked. Then they had a closer game, then got shellacked again, or they had a tighter game and then they got shellacked again. Like, the Maulers they have so many areas of deficiency, game planning and coaching and the players and the quarterback situation. The defense was solid to begin, but feels like it's running out of steam because there's nothing on offense to back you up when you're making plays defensively. The Maulers are a mess, and they're sitting at 0-4, and I just don't know if they can come out of this one victors here, especially if the Gamblers are forcing turnovers. I understand I just, kind of railed them for averaging 4 points a second half here, but I don't know if I can really buy the Maulers being a team that can come out and upset a team that forces more turnovers than everyone else in the entire USFL. I don't know if there's any possible way the Maulers can come out and do that. The Gamblers' defense is just so opportunistic, and I think that with the way things go and how south things can go for the Maulers offensively, they just got shut out not too long ago. I don't know if the Maulers can come out victors in this one. I have the Gamblers taking the W here. 23-14 is my final score. So I do like that -5.5. I think that the Gamblers win somewhat handedly going into this game here. I am taking the over at 33.5, more so because I'm expecting the Gamblers to put up a fair amount of numbers, and I could see the Maulers even putting up less than 14, but I hope I'm wrong. In an ideal world, I want every single game to be close, but I am a little bit concerned about the Maulers going into this game here, going up against such a opportunistic Gamblers defense. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But ultimately, that's the way I see that final game going. Give me the Gamblers. I like it 23-14, and they be the victors for this game number 4 of the weekend and final game of the weekend. But that is my USFL picks for week number 5. I appreciate you guys for watching. Comment down below. Let me know who you think is going to come out the winners for this week. Pick all 4 games. Let me know. Chat with me in the comment section. I would love to break it down with you all. But that is it for me today. I appreciate you guys for watching. I have a NFL schedule release kind of reaction coming out a little bit later today as well. Make sure you check that out if you stuck around this late into the video. But I appreciate you all. As always, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a good weekend, and I will see you guys next time.